Halloween has always been my favorite holiday, not just because of the candy or the parties, but because it's the one night a year where you can be anyone, literally anyone. I'm 26 now, working as a dental hygienist in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, making about $32 an hour cleaning teeth and listening to people's excuses for not flossing. It's steady work, boring, but reliable. In 2022, my friend group decided to go all out for Halloween. We're talking a full costume party at my friend Derek's place in Bayview, with prizes for best costume, a DJ, the whole setup. Derek rented out the entire first floor of this old converted warehouse on Kinnickinnick Avenue for $500 for the night. We were expecting maybe 80 people. The problem was, I waited too long to get a costume. By mid-October, every Halloween store in Milwaukee was picked clean. Spirit Halloween on North Avenue had nothing but cheap pirate costumes and sexy nurse outfits. Party City in Brookfield was the same story. Everything good was gone. That's when I found Blackwood Costumes. I was scrolling through Facebook Marketplace on October 23rd, a week before Halloween, when I saw the ad. Professional grade costume rentals, movie quality, reasonable prices, located in Cudahy. There was a phone number and an address, 4847 South Packard Avenue. I called the number. A woman answered on the third ring. Her voice was older, raspy, like she'd been a heavy smoker for decades. "Blackwood Costumes," she said. "Hi, I saw your ad on Facebook. Do you still have costumes available for Halloween weekend?" "Oh yes, dear. We have quite a selection. When would you like to come by?" We scheduled an appointment for that evening at 7 p.m. She said her name was Margaret and that she'd been running the costume business for 30 years. "Only by appointment," she emphasized. "I don't do walk-ins." I drove to Cudahy after work. The address led me to a residential neighborhood, which was weird. I was expecting a storefront, but 4847 South Packard was a house. A small one-story ranch with brown siding and a chain-link fence around the yard. The porch light was on, and I could see Halloween decorations in the windows, paper bats, orange lights, a plastic skeleton. I parked on the street and walked up to the front door. Before I could knock, it opened. Margaret was in her 70s, maybe early 80s, short, maybe 5 feet tall, with white hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore a purple cardigan and thick glasses that magnified her eyes to an unsettling size. "You must be Christine," she said, smiling. Her teeth were too white, too perfect. Dentures. "That's me. Thanks for meeting with me so late." "Oh, it's no trouble. Come in, come in." The inside of the house was exactly what you'd expect from an elderly woman living alone. Floral wallpaper, doilies on every surface, the smell of mothballs and old carpet. But what struck me was the costumes. They were everywhere. Hanging on racks that lined the walls, stuffed into closets with doors left open, draped over furniture. I'm talking hundreds of costumes. Movie quality stuff, just like the ad said. I saw a knight's armor that looked like it came straight from a medieval film, a Victorian ball gown with intricate beading, a werewolf costume with realistic fur and animatronic features. "Wow," I said. "This is incredible. Where did you get all of these?" Margaret smiled that too wide smile again. "I've been collecting them for decades. Some I made myself, others I acquired from various sources. Movie studios, theater productions, estate sales. Each one has a story." She led me through the house, showing me different options. I tried on a few: a flapper dress from the 1920s, a witch costume with a real leather corset, a zombie bride with tattered lace. Everything fit perfectly, like it had been tailored specifically for me. Finally, I found it. A plague doctor costume, full-length black coat, leather gloves, and the iconic beaked mask. It was stunning, authentic-looking, and honestly kind of terrifying. "How much for this one?" I asked. "For the weekend?" $75. That includes the full costume, mask, and accessories. You bring it back by November 1st, and we're square. It was a steal. I paid her in cash, she didn't take cards, and she wrote up a handwritten receipt on a small notepad. "One more thing," she said as I was leaving. "Don't wear it before Halloween night. The costume, it works best when worn at the right time." I laughed, thinking she was being dramatic. "Sure, no problem." I took the costume home and hung it in my closet. For the next week, I'd glance at it occasionally, excited for the party. The mask was particularly striking. The beak was long and curved, the eye holes dark and empty. Sometimes, when I looked at it in the dim light of my bedroom, it almost seemed like it was looking back. Halloween night came. I got dressed at my apartment around 8 p.m. The costume fit even better than I remembered. The coat was heavy, real wool, and the gloves were soft leather that molded to my hands. I put the mask on last. The moment it settled onto my face, something felt off. The mask was tight, almost suffocating. The eye holes were narrower than I remembered, and my peripheral vision was completely gone. But more than that, there was a smell inside the mask. Not mothballs or dust, but something organic, something rotten. I tried to take the mask off, but the leather straps had tangled in my hair. I tugged at them, starting to panic, when suddenly they loosened. The mask came off easily, and I stood there breathing hard, my heart racing. Get it together, I told myself. It's just a costume. I put the mask back on, more carefully this time, and headed to the party. Derek's warehouse space looked amazing. Black lights, fog machines, a full bar setup. By the time I arrived around 9:30 p.m., the place was packed. People complimented my costume constantly. That's so creepy. Where did you get that? You look like you walked out of a horror movie. I drank, I danced, I took photos. Around 11 p.m., we did the costume contest. I didn't win. Some guy in an elaborate xenomorph costume took first place, but I got third and won a $25 gift card to a local restaurant. That's when things got weird. I was standing near the bar talking to my friend Alyssa when I noticed someone staring at me from across the room. Another plague doctor. Same costume, same mask, same everything. We were matching. Oh my God, Alyssa laughed. Someone else had the same idea as you. I waved at the other plague doctor. They didn't wave back. They just stood there, perfectly still, in the corner near the DJ booth. That's weird, I said. Maybe they're shy. But as the night went on, I kept noticing them, always in my peripheral vision, always watching. And here's the thing, they never moved. In 2 hours, I never saw them walk, talk to anyone, get a drink, nothing. They just stood there, staring. Around 1 a.m., I decided to go talk to them. Maybe compare notes on where we got our costumes, laugh about the coincidence. I walked over to the corner where they'd been standing. They were gone. I looked around, confused. The warehouse only had one exit, and I'd been watching that area. There was no way they could have left without me seeing them. Hey, did you see where the other plague doctor went? I asked a guy standing nearby. He looked at me, confused. Other plague doctor? Dude, you're the only one. No, there was someone else. Same costume as me. They were standing right here. He shrugged. I've been here all night, man. Haven't seen anyone else in that costume. I asked 5 other people. Same answer. No one had seen another plague doctor. I went to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, tried to calm down. Too much vodka, I told myself. I was seeing things. But when I looked in the mirror, my reflection was wrong. The mask looked different. The beak seemed longer, the eye holes darker. And for just a moment, just a split second, I saw someone else's eyes looking back at me through the mask. Not my brown eyes, someone else's. Gray, cold, and very, very old. I ripped the mask off. My reflection was normal again. My eyes, my face, my messy hair, from wearing the mask all night. I left the party at 2 a.m., telling Derek I wasn't feeling well. I drove home still wearing the costume, too freaked out to change. When I got to my apartment, I tore the costume off and shoved it in a garbage bag. First thing in the morning, I was taking it back to Margaret. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that other plague doctor standing in the corner watching me. November 1st, I drove to 4847 South Packard Avenue at 9 a.m. I wanted to return the costume and never think about it again. The house was gone, not abandoned, not demolished, just not there. In its place was an empty lot, overgrown with weeds. The chain link fence was still there, rusty and falling apart. But there was no house, no brown siding, no porch light, no Halloween decorations. I sat in my car, staring at the empty lot, the garbage bag with the costume in my passenger seat. I drove to the Cudahy Public Library and asked to see property records for 4847 South Packard Avenue. The librarian, a nice woman in her 50s, looked it up on the computer. That address has been vacant since 1998, she said. The house that was there burned down in a fire, killed the woman who lived there. Margaret something. Let me check. She scrolled. Margaret Blackwood, age 73. She died in the fire on October the 31st, 1998. I felt my blood run cold. October 31st? Yes, Halloween night. Tragic, really. They said she ran a costume business out of her home, lost everything in the fire, including her entire collection. I left the library and drove straight to a dumpster behind a strip mall on Layton Avenue. I threw the garbage bag in, costume and all, and watched as the garbage truck came by an hour later and crushed it into compacted trash. But here's the thing that still keeps me up at night. 2 weeks later, on November 15th, I saw a photo on Facebook. My friend Alyssa had posted a bunch of pictures from Derek's Halloween party. I scrolled through them. People dancing, costume contest winners, group shots. And there, in the background of one photo, standing in the corner near the DJ booth, was the other plague doctor, clear as day. Same costume, same mask, same position. I zoomed in on the photo. You could see them perfectly, but more than that, you could see their hand. They were pointing directly at me in the photo, where I stood across the room talking to Alyssa. I commented on the photo. "Who was that other plague doctor in the background?" Alyssa replied, "What other plague doctor? That's just you. I only remember you wearing that costume." I zoomed in further on the face visible through the mask's eye holes in the photo. The eyes staring out weren't mine. They were gray, cold, and very, very old. I grew up in Salem, Massachusetts. Yes, that's Salem. The witch trial, Salem. And if you think living there makes Halloween less scary, you'd be wrong. It makes it worse. Because when you grow up surrounded by tourist shops selling cursed crystals, and haunted tours telling you about real executions that happened on the ground, you walk on every day. You start to believe that maybe some of that history doesn't stay buried. I'm 33 now, but this happened when I was 16, in October 2007. I was a junior at Salem High School, and Halloween in Salem is basically a month-long festival. The whole city transforms. Thousands of tourists flood in every weekend in October, spending money at witch museums, psychic readings, ghost tours. The streets are packed from morning until late at night. The highlight of the season is the Halloween parade on October 31st. It's a massive event. Marching bands, dance groups, elaborately decorated floats, people in costumes lining the streets. Starts at 6:30 p.m. and runs through downtown Salem from the Common down Essex Street. My best friend Tyler and I had gone to the parade every year since we were kids. It was tradition. Our parents would take us when we were little, buy us hot cider and kettle corn, let us run around with glow sticks. As we got older, we'd go on our own, usually meeting up with other friends from school. October 31st, 2007 was cold. Temperature dropped to about 40 degrees by evening, and there was a fog rolling in from the harbor that made everything look like a movie set. Tyler and I met up at my house on Hawthorne Boulevard around 5:30 p.m. We weren't wearing costumes. We were too cool for that at 16, just hoodies and jeans. We walked downtown, cutting through the Common, where they'd set up a bunch of vendor booths selling food and Halloween merch. The crowd was already huge. Families with kids in costumes, groups of drunk college students, tourists with cameras. The air smelled like fried dough and wood smoke from outdoor fire pits. We found a spot on Essex Street to watch the parade, right in front of the Peabody Essex Museum. The parade started on time, and for the first hour, it was exactly what we expected. High school bands playing Halloween-themed music, cheerleaders dressed as witches, floats decorated with giant spiders and skeletons. Tyler and I were mostly goofing around, making fun of people's costumes and checking out girls. Around 7:45 p.m., something changed. The parade had been moving at a steady pace, but suddenly it stopped. All of it. The band that had been passing in front of us froze mid-song. The float behind them, some local business sponsorship thing with people throwing candy, stopped moving. The crowd kept cheering and clapping, not realizing anything was wrong at first. Tyler and I looked at each other. "What's going on?" he asked. We couldn't see what was happening further up the street. Too many people, too much fog. But the parade stayed stopped for a good 5 minutes, long enough that people started getting restless, checking their phones, asking each other what the holdup was. Then the music started again. But it was different. Not the high school band that had been playing. This was older music, like something from a record player, crackly and distorted. A waltz, slow and haunting. And then they appeared, a group of people in colonial-era clothing, walking down the middle of Essex Street. Maybe 20 of them, men and women, dressed in Puritan outfits. Black coats, white collars, tall black hats for the men, long dresses and white caps for the women. They walked in 2 lines, slow and deliberate, in time with the music. "This is cool," Tyler said. "Must be some historical society thing." But something about them felt wrong. The way they moved was too synchronized, too stiff. And their faces, they weren't smiling, weren't acknowledging the crowd, weren't handing out flyers or candy like every other group in the parade. They just walked, staring straight ahead. As they got closer, I could see more details. Their clothes were dirty, not costume dirty, but actually filthy. Mud on the hems of the dresses, stains on the men's coats. And their shoes, if you could call them that, were just leather wraps, tattered and worn. The crowd around us had gone quiet, not silent, but noticeably quieter. People were watching the colonial group with the same uneasy feeling I had. They passed directly in front of us, maybe 10 feet away. That's when I saw their faces clearly. Their skin was gray. Not painted gray, not makeup, but actually gray and waxy looking, like meat that had been left out too long. Their eyes were open but empty, staring forward without blinking. And their mouths, some of them were moving, lips making words, but no sound was coming out. One woman, near the front of the group, turned her head as she passed us, her eyes locked onto mine. I felt my stomach drop. Her mouth was moving faster now, forming words I couldn't hear, but somehow understood. "Help us." Tyler grabbed my arm. "Dude, we need to leave." "What? Why?" "Just look at them. They're not right. Something's wrong." The colonial group continued down the street, and the parade resumed behind them. The high school band started playing again. The floats began moving. Everything went back to normal, as if nothing had happened. We pushed through the crowd, trying to see where the colonial group had gone. They should have turned left onto Central Street where the parade route ended. But when we got to the intersection, they were gone. "Maybe they went into one of the buildings," Tyler suggested. We walked down Central Street, checking storefronts, looking for any sign of them. Nothing, like they'd vanished into thin air. "Let's just go home," I said. The whole thing had killed my mood. We walked back through downtown toward my house. The parade was still going, the crowds were still thick, but I couldn't shake the image of that woman's face, her mouth forming those words. "Help us." When we got back to my house around 9 p.m., my mom was in the kitchen making hot chocolate. "How was the parade?" she asked. "Weird," Tyler said. "Did you hear about any historical reenactment groups participating this year?" My mom frowned. "Reenactment? No, I don't think so." "Why?" We told her what we'd seen, the colonial group, the old music, the way they looked. She listened, then got very quiet. "What year did you say this was?" she asked. 2007. This year, tonight." She shook her head. "No, I mean, describe what they were wearing again." I described the Puritan outfits, the black and white clothing, the tall hats. My mom went to the bookshelf in our living room and pulled out a local history book about Salem. She flipped to a chapter about the witch trials and showed us an illustration. "Like this?" she asked. It was exactly what we'd seen, down to the style of the clothes, the way they'd walked in 2 lines. "The accused witches," my mom said quietly, "were walked through the town in this exact formation before their executions. 2 lines, men and women, from the jail to Gallows Hill. They did it to shame them, make a public spectacle." "But that was in the 1600s, I said. "What we saw was tonight." My mom looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before, not quite scared, but deeply unsettled. "Salem has always been thin," she said. "The veil between worlds, especially on Halloween. People see things here that they don't see anywhere else." Tyler went home around 10 p.m. I tried to sleep but couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that woman's face, her mouth forming those silent words. The next morning, November 1st, I found a newspaper article online. The Salem News had covered the parade. There was a photo gallery with dozens of pictures from the night. I scrolled through them, looking for any trace of the colonial group. Nothing. In every photo where they should have been, time-stamped at 7:45 p.m., 7:47 p.m., 7:50 p.m., there was just an empty space in the street. The high school band, the floats, the crowd, all visible, but no Puritan group. It was like they'd never been there at all. Except Tyler and I knew we'd seen them. We'd been 10 feet away. I still live in Salem. I'm married now, have a 2-year-old daughter. We go to the Halloween parade every year because it's tradition, because it's what you do when you live here. But every year, around 7:45 p.m., I watch the parade carefully, looking for people in Puritan clothes, listening for that old waltz music, hoping I don't see them again. But part of me knows that one year, I will. And next time, maybe I'll understand what they're trying to say. I do DoorDash deliveries as a side hustle, have for about 3 years now. I'm 28, work full-time as an assistant manager at a Target in Boise, Idaho, making about $42,000 a year. The DoorDash money, usually an extra $800 to $1,000 a month, helps me save up for a house. Rent in Boise has gotten insane in the last 5 years. Most deliveries are straightforward. Pick up food from a restaurant, drop it off at someone's house or apartment. Maybe get a decent tip if you're lucky. I've delivered to mansions in the North End, sketchy motels on State Street, apartment complexes where the building numbers make no sense. You see all kinds of stuff doing deliveries. But Halloween night, 2023, I got one that I still think about. One that made me stop doing deliveries after dark. It was October 31st, around 9:30 p.m. I'd been dashing since 5 p.m., trying to capitalize on the Halloween rush. Lots of people ordering food because they were too busy handing out candy or hosting parties to cook. I'd already made about $120 in tips, which was a great night. I was parked in the lot of a Panda Express on Overland Road when the order came through. Taco Bell on Fairview. Delivery address, 8847 West Ustick Road. Payout, $18.50 for 4.2 miles. That's a great order, more than $4 per mile, so I accepted immediately. I picked up the food at Taco Bell, 3 Crunchwrap Supremes, 2 orders of nachos, a bag of cinnamon twists, the usual junk, sealed up in a paper bag with the customer's name on it, Daniel. I put the address into my GPS and started driving. Ustick Road runs west out of Boise into the foothills, where the city starts transitioning into farmland and open space. The houses get further apart, the streetlights get fewer, and at night, it's pretty dark. My GPS took me west on Ustick for about 10 minutes, past the last major intersection, past the last gas station. The road narrowed to 2 lanes, and the houses on either side were spread out with big yards, some with horses or alpacas visible in the fields. Arriving at destination in 500 feet, my GPS said. I slowed down, looking for house numbers. Most of the houses out here don't have visible numbers from the road, which makes deliveries annoying. You're basically guessing based on where the GPS pin drops. The GPS said I'd arrived. I pulled over to the side of the road and looked around. There was a house, set back from the road about 100 feet, at the end of a long gravel driveway. It was a 2-story farmhouse, old, with white siding that looked gray in the darkness. No lights on inside, no cars in the driveway. No decorations, which was weird for Halloween night. Every other house I'd passed had at least a pumpkin or some orange lights. I checked the app. This was definitely the address, 8847 West Ustick Road. I grabbed the food and started walking up the driveway. My headlights lit the path for the first 30 feet, but after that, it was just darkness. I turned on my phone flashlight. The house looked abandoned. The windows were dark, some of them covered with plywood. The front porch was sagging, the wood rotted through in places. Weeds grew up through cracks in the concrete steps. This has to be wrong, I muttered. I checked the app again. No, this was the address, and the customer, Daniel, had noted, "Please come to front door. We'll meet you there." I walked up to the porch carefully, testing each step to make sure it wouldn't collapse under my weight. The front door was old wood, paint peeling, with a tarnished brass knocker in the shape of a lion's head. I knocked. "DoorDash delivery!" No answer, no sound from inside. I waited 30 seconds, then knocked again. "Hello? I have your Taco Bell order." Nothing. I pulled out my phone to call the customer. That's protocol when someone doesn't answer. Call them, give them a few minutes, and if they still don't respond, you can leave the food and mark it as delivered. The phone number rang, and inside the house, I heard a phone ringing too. Same rhythm, same timing. The customer's phone was inside. "Hello?" a voice answered, tinny through my phone speaker. "Hi, this is your DoorDash driver. I'm at your front door with your order." "Oh, good," the voice said. It was male, youngish, maybe late 20s or early 30s, friendly sounding. "Can you bring it inside? I'm upstairs and can't come down right now. The door's unlocked." Every instinct in my body said, no. You don't go inside customers' houses. That's rule number 1 of delivery work. You hand them the food, you leave, that's it. "I'm sorry, I can't come inside," I said. "Company policy. I can leave it on the porch if you'd like." "Please," the voice said, and now it sounded different, strained, urgent. "I really need you to bring it upstairs. I'm hurt. I can't walk. Please." I hesitated. If someone was actually hurt, calling 911 would be the right move, not ordering Taco Bell. But maybe it wasn't serious. Maybe they'd twisted an ankle or something. "If you're hurt, I can call an ambulance for you," I offered. "No!" The voice was sharp now. "No, please don't. Just bring the food upstairs, second door on the right. Please, I'll give you a big tip." Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. I looked at the front door. It was slightly ajar, just a crack, darkness visible through the gap. "I'm going to leave the food on the porch," I said firmly. "I'll mark it as delivered. Have a good night." I set the Taco Bell bag down on the porch, took a photo to confirm delivery, and turned to walk back to my car. "Wait," the voice said through my phone, which I was still holding. "Please wait." I didn't wait. I walked quickly down the driveway, my phone flashlight bouncing with each step. Behind me, I heard the front door of the house creak open. Not swing open, but slowly creak, like someone was pushing it open inch by inch. I walked faster, not quite running, but close. "Wait," the voice called from behind me. Not through my phone this time, from the house, echoing across the dark yard. I ran. Screw it, I ran. I reached my car, jumped in, locked the doors, and threw it in drive. My tires kicked up gravel as I peeled out. I looked in my rearview mirror as I sped away. Someone was standing at the end of the driveway, silhouetted in my taillights. Just standing there, watching me leave. I drove straight to the Target parking lot, which was well lit and had security cameras, and sat there for 20 minutes trying to calm down. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I called DoorDash support and told them what happened. The support person, some guy reading from a script, asked if I felt unsafe. I said yes. He said he'd make a note on the account and that I didn't have to deliver there again. Then I pulled up the delivery details to look at the customer profile. The account name was Daniel, but there was no profile picture, no delivery history, no reviews. The account had been created that day, October the 31st, 2023. And the phone number I'd called? When I tried calling it again, I got a message. "The number you have dialed is not in service." The next morning, November 1st, curiosity got the better of me. I looked up 884-7 West Dustic Road on Google Maps. The satellite view showed trees and empty land, no house, no driveway, just an overgrown lot. I drove out there in daylight with my girlfriend Megan. I made her come with me because I wasn't going alone. We found the spot where my GPS had taken me the night before. There was a dirt turnoff from the road, overgrown with weeds. We walked about 100 feet into the property. There were ruins. The foundation of an old house, concrete blocks covered in moss, rotted wood beams collapsed into the crawl space. It had been abandoned for years, maybe decades. "This is where you delivered last night?" Megan asked. "I saw a house," I insisted. "A whole house, 2 stories, white siding, front porch. It was right here." She looked at me with concern. "Babe, there's nothing here?" I took photos of the ruins. I pulled up the delivery photo I'd taken of the Taco Bell bag on the porch. Clear as day, the bag sitting on old rotted wood, the door cracked open behind it. But when I zoomed in on the photo, I noticed something I hadn't seen the night before. In the darkness visible through the crack in the door, there was a face. Pale, indistinct, but definitely a face. And it was smiling. I deleted the DoorDash app that day. Deleted my account, requested all my data be removed. I still work at Target, still live in the same apartment, still broke and trying to save money. But I don't do deliveries anymore, and every Halloween since, when I drive on Ustic Road for any reason, I make sure I'm past that empty lot before it gets dark. Because I know what I saw. I know there was a house, a driveway, a front door with a tarnished brass knocker. I know someone answered the phone inside, asked me to come upstairs, waited for me to make a choice. And I'm grateful every single day that I made the right one. These are 3 stories from 3 different Halloweens, 3 different experiences with things that shouldn't exist, but somehow do. I don't know if there are rational explanations I'm missing, or if October 31st really does thin the veil between our world and something else. What I do know is that Halloween isn't just costumes and candy. It's not just a fun holiday where we pretend to be scared. Sometimes the things we see on Halloween night are real. Sometimes the houses we visit shouldn't be there. Sometimes the people in costumes aren't people at all. If you've made it this far, I hope these stories haven't ruined Halloween for you. But if they have, maybe that's okay. Maybe being a little more careful, a little more aware, is what keeps us safe. Because the scariest thing about Halloween isn't what jumps out at you from a haunted house or what you see in a horror movie. It's what you encounter in real life when you're just trying to have a good time, or make some extra money, or watch a parade in your hometown. It's the moment when you realize that the costume you're wearing isn't just fabric and thread, that the people marching in the parade don't belong to this century, that the house at the end of the driveway isn't supposed to exist. Those are the moments when Halloween stops being fun and starts being something else entirely. Something real, something dangerous, something that follows you home and stays with you long after November first comes around. Stay safe out there, and if something on Halloween night feels wrong, trust your instincts. Don't go inside. Don't follow the parade group that doesn't appear in photos. Don't wear the costume that smells like rot. Because some things that come out on Halloween night aren't pretending to be scary. They actually are. And they're waiting for someone to make one small mistake.